Well, welcome back to our weekly look at Tiffin University football. Hi, everybody. I'm Snyder, sitting next to the head coach of the Tiffin University Dragons, Coach Cris Reisert, and can't say undefeated coach anymore. We just had a rough one last Saturday as we fell to slippery rock, but it was in the NCAA Division II football championship tournament, so a lot to be said for that as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great ride, great season. Excited for all of our players, and didn't end the way you hoped it. Yeah, it only ends or stays undefeated for one team, and of the 158 or however many Division II schools there are. And so to be in the Final 16, with the group that we had, just really proud of them and thankful for them. And I think the foundation has been laid, even further than it had before. And we're excited about what we can do moving forward.
Let's take a look back at this season real quick, and then we'll talk about some of the accolades some of your kids got in the postseason and some very well-deserved national honors as well for some of your kids. But, the first game of the season, home opener against McKendree, but your offense put on a show that day.
Yeah.
Put up 79 points in that victory, 79-14 win over McKendree. And just tell me a little bit about how you felt about your squad after that Week 1 win.
Yeah, I think we've known all along that we could be pretty dynamic, and certainly that was put on display that week, and I think it really kind of set the tone for what we could be. It ended up, I think we're fourth in the country in scoring offense and fourth in the country in total offense over the course of the season, and so that was I think a barometer of what we could be, and I think all season we were able to accomplish that.
Well, after 1 week, you're averaging 79 points a game, so it usually does a pretty good job on a football field. A couple road games that were up next for the Dragons. Went on the road, the farthest road trip of the year at St. Anselm, got a 42-7 win, and then you come home for your first road conference game, a game up in Northwood, where the Northwood Timberwolves put up a big old fight against you guys that day, and that was kind of the start of a couple of games of some bad weather, if I remember correctly. The Dragons still were able to pull out a touchdown win in that one.
Yeah, no doubt. No, I think early in the season to have two games. The McKendree game, they finished, I think it was 6-5, and had a really big win over Indy, and so to win convincingly in that week was huge. And then St. Anselm the next week ended up winning the NEC and beat playoff team, beat two other really, really good teams in that conference, and so. To be able to win both games really convincingly, I think that helped a lot in terms of being a number one seed in the postseason and earning that opportunity. I think the McKendree or the St. Anselm game was a 42-7 game, and one that we kind of dominated from the jump, and so that was huge, and they were a good football team. And so I think then you went into Northwood. We didn't play particularly well in the first half of that Northwood game. It was a challenge to our football team to not flinch and to come out and win in the second half, and we did that. And they have a good football team. They went on to beat Findlay and do some things throughout the year, and so it was good to start the season off at 3-0 and 3 quality wins. And then like you said, got into some bad weather. After the Ashland game, played Ashland in Week 4, and that was a 55-20 game, I think, something like
55-30, yeah.
55-30.
That was a game that a lot of folks probably had circled on the calendars that the GMAC schedule was put out early on in the year, because Ashland was preseason ranked around 6, I believe, in the country, and the Dragons put it on that day, 55-30. It was a wonderful crowd down at Frost County Stadium that day, and that one kind of was the springboard for what you guys were able to accomplish as you went your way through the rest of the season. And then you finished up the month of September with a road game at Thomas More, an interesting one for you because you have so many family and friends down there. Yeah. And I remember you talking about how your wife and your mother were working together to make sure so people were able to have some fun that day.
It was huge. I think I think anytime you can beat one of your rivals in Ashland 55-30 and in convincing fashion, I think that's huge. That was a big win for us, and then to be able to parlay that in going down to beat Thomas More, and you always have that natural tendency after you get a big win. Do you put your foot off the gas? And I thought our guys really put their foot on the gas and beat Thomas More 44-7, and I think we ran the ball for like 375 games, something like 375 yards that game, which was huge. I think it was like a 375-50
that sounds about
rushing perspective, and so that was a really, really cool moment for our team to be able to do that. And we're so Cincinnati based, and we're getting ready. We're getting ready to go on the road. I'll be gone, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we're just going to be in Southwest Ohio, posted up. And so, to beat the other Division II school 44-7 in pretty convincing fashion, and the plan is to take the best players from down there and continue to bring them up to Tiffin, and that'll continue to help us evolve as a program.
Well, when your wife was on the program, I asked her about, when the season's over, she gets you back a little bit. She said, no, recruiting season's maybe a little bit busier than the actual season.
You sleep when you're dead, and no, we need to be able to capitalize on the success that we've had as a football team right now. and capitalize on that in recruiting, and continue to bring in the right types of kids and families. And mostly in the high school realm, we always typically bring in a transfer here and there, but I like to think we're largely, a developmental program and built with high school guys. We had in our playoff game, we dressed 58, and 5 of them were transfers. And so you're talking about
today's day and age. That's a very small number.
Yeah, no, you're talking about 53 guys that have been with us and have grinded and competed and love Tiffin. I think that's part of our success.
Well, in the month of October, the Dragons played 3 home games opposed to the 3 road games that the Dragons faced in September. September is a strange month with there being 5 Saturdays. So the Dragons in the first month had 5 games under their belt. I don't even know if volleyball had played a home game by that time.
I remember that.
And then we get into October, and that Thomas More game sitting there between the Ashland and the Hillsdale game. Some people thought that could be a letdown game, but your team did not do that at all. And then came back and faced the Hillsdale team, who ended up having co-player of the year, Michael Herzog, one of the better running backs in the league, and you guys handled that one with a 14-point win before you went on the road to shut out Lake Erie, and that was the game with the real bad weather.
Yeah, no doubt. No, the Hillsdale win was a good win. They at the time we played them, they didn't have a great record. They were a good football team. The Herzog kid was one of the better players we played all year. Really good up front on both sides of the ball. And so they're a hard out. Regardless of record, and they ended up obviously going and having a winning record and finishing 6-5 or 7-4. I'm not mistaken, but yeah, it was a good win for us, and to be able to really, you talk about you played, I don't know what it was in those first 6 games, 6 teams with winning records, and to win all of them in convincing fashion. I think it said a lot about our team.
Besides Tiffin, Hillsdale probably finished the conference as strong as anybody. Yeah. They went on a nice run their last 5-6 games to finish out the season. Then we said the bad weather game at Lake Erie. The Dragons battled the elements and battled the storm, literally. Yep. 2 of them are a big 50-0 victory.
Pun intended.
Yeah. And then you come home for homecoming against Kentucky Wesleyan. You got a big win that week, and then you finished out the month of October with another home win against Walsh, 40-13.
Yeah. No, it was did what we needed to do, and I thought got better throughout the month, and then we would hit the home stretch and go from there.
Go into the month of November, 9-0, and 2 big road games looming. One at Ohio Dominican first, and the Dragons went down there and really handled their business from the jump, 44-10, big win at Ohio Dominican, and then finish out the season on the road against your rival. And boy, what a game the Dragons played that day. Basically a shutout till the final couple of minutes, and you handled Findlay Oilers 26-7 to finish your regular season undefeated. Yeah,
no, I think going down to ODU, I think we were up 40-3 at half or 41-3 at half. Anytime you can do that against the Ohio Dominican football team, I mean, that's pretty cool. And then I think we dominated Findlay. Really from start to finish. And so. Anytime you can do that to your rival at their place, we're certainly not gonna not be excited about that.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think when you can do it physically, I think that makes it even sweeter. And so it was a great way to close out the regular season. 11-0, first time in school history. GMAC champs, 3rd time in 5 years.
Yep.
Nobody in the conference has even 2 conference championships, and we have 3. And so I think we've been able to do a lot of really cool things, and then to be able to get a first round bye, and go into the second round of the national playoffs. That was awesome, and certainly didn't end the way we wanted it to, but a good stepping stone for our program.
Well, it's not like you didn't go out down without a fight. My goodness, you gave Slippery Rock everything they wanted in that game, and Dragons fell in the tournament. Though, as Coach said, #1 seed in the region. Tiffin University, the only school in the country to have a 1 seed in football and men's soccer in the region, which is just fantastic. And then it's just the luck of the draw. I mean, maybe the best team in the region, having to face them in the regional semifinal against Slippery Rock. But and then after the game, Coach, you were there, and the press conference after the game, and I'll tell you what, the emotion on your players that came over and talked to us, Patrick and Keegan, and that was real.
Yeah,
that was real emotion from those kids, and that really shows you how much it means to them. And being a Tiffin guy myself, and neither one of those guys are from here, but they both wear Tiffin on their chest proudly, and it meant the world to them. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, no, they our guys put everything they had into it, and they didn't leave an ounce out there, and that's what makes me most proud. And I think our guys, they really do believe in Tiffin. They do believe in the university. They do believe in our program. They love being here. They love representing us. and they take an immense amount of pride in what they're doing to elevate, our program, our university, our athletic department. It matters to them, and it's cool. The season's over, right? So you have your equipment turning on Monday, do a team meeting, and talk about kind of mindset moving forward, and we just talked about being able to learn from Saturday's environment through Saturday's opportunity, and use it as a stepping stone for our program, and understand that we worked really, really, really hard last off season, and understanding that in order to get past where we got to, you need to work harder and be more committed, and we'll do that. And then this week is this to start it today was all my exit meetings, so get to talk to each guy one-on-one and hear about their experiences and hear about the whole thing that's happening for them at Tiffin. And it's amazing just how much value the guys have in being here, and how much they're enjoying the classroom, how much they're enjoying the community, how much they love the city. It's really just a good time to be at Tiffin.
I bet you learn a lot in those exit meetings. I mean, the kids learn a lot from you. I mean, it's always nice to, you got to have that exit meeting. I bet you learn a lot.
It's huge. No, you get to, there are some things that, that you need to get more insight on, and so you're able to ask those questions. And then I think it's great for myself and position coaches and our players to be able to, get feedback from each other. I think so often conversations aren't had enough, and you want to know where you stand, you want to know where you can get better, you want to know how you can improve. I want to know as a head coach, hey, what are the ways you see that we can improve our program? How do we take a step forward here or there? And so asking our players questions, and that's really the greatest way for me to learn. And then we're able to give them feedback too of what we see from them, where we want them to go, and most of it, it's just empowering and seeing, let them know what we see in them, and then it's their job to go make it come to life.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at some of the numbers from the season. Dragons averaged 43.7 points per game. That's fantastic. 482.9 total yards of offense, but for almost 5,800 yards this season. Great numbers. 3,060 yards on the ground this year, averaging 255 yards, 5.6 yards per rush, and 41 touchdowns. All these numbers, Coach, are fantastic here I've mentioned so far. Also, your defense recovers 13 fumbles, has 18 interceptions, 6 defensive touchdowns, and 36 sacks from your defense. So those are some of the numbers when I glanced through the overall stats that really stood out to me.
No, it's huge. I think I think when you look at everything, statistically, the most important one is that we went 11-0 in the regular season and finished 11-1. But offensively, I think we were 4 in the country in scoring offense, 4 in the country in total offense, 4th in the country in rushing offense.
Yeah, I got some of that over here too.
We were number 1 in the country in turnover margin. Our defense, I think, was in the top 2 or 3 in takeaways.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think we were in the top 15 in scoring defense, and really, when you look at stats, to me, 3 things matter: scoring offense, scoring defense, and turnover margin. And to be, scoring defense, I think it was like top 15 in scoring offense, top 5, and in turnover margin, top 3. You're gonna have a pretty darn good year.
Absolutely, about +2 on average per game. About very, very opportunistic defense for the Dragons this year. Well, the Great Midwest Athletic Conference Fall Football Season Awards have came out, and as you know, Tiffin University, the champion of the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, and for the 3rd time since being here at Tiffin University, the Coach of the Year in the Great Midwest, right here sitting beside me, Mr. Cris Reisert. So congratulations, Coach. Job well done.
Thank you.
And then the Great Midwest Defensive Lineman of the Year, Robert Holtz. We've talked about him before, the walk-on, and the effort he's had to put in to get to this point, and just had a very dominant year this year. 2nd year in a row, the Dragons had the Defensive Lineman of the Year. And then the one that you're probably most of the parents will be the most proud of is the Great Midwest Elite 26 Award winner, Jordan Speller. Why don't you go and explain what that one is?
Yeah, no, it goes to the top academic performer in the conference. And Jordan won it last year, 4.0 GPA, education major.
That's awesome.
Has a 4.0 over 100 hours completed, which is huge. And so he won it last year, and he get a chance to win it again this year. And in the spring, I think we had 18 4.0s, and so we had a lot of guys to choose from, and it becomes a statistical deal where he's done so well over so many hours. It's like that's the guy, and not to mention he's 2nd team all conference. Just a dynamic player, and a huge weapon for us.
Well, here's some of the guys who got 1st team all-conference selections for the Dragons. The first one we're going to mention him again here in a little bit. But Shane Bumgardner, your senior offensive, your center on the offensive line, really the catalyst to an offensive line that had really a fantastic year for you all year. Even when they got banged up, it really didn't slow down.
No, yeah, I mean Shane's kind of the guy that stirs the drink, and makes all the calls, communicates, is at the forefront of everything. Battled injuries all year. Nobody more deserving.
And James Raber as well gets the first team as an offensive lineman for the Dragons. And without that offensive lineman, you aren't going to have an first-team all-league quarterback in Casey Martin, or a first-team all-league running back in Ronald Blackman, or a first-team all-league wide receiver in Josh Lewis.
No, they go hand in hand.
Yep.
And so Rabes had a huge year. Rabes had a huge offseason, got his body in a position to go and do these things, and plays with an edge. He's physical. Can't say enough about him.
Then on the defensive side, we mentioned Robert Holtz being the defensive lineman of the year in the conference. Marshawn Mankins, we mentioned him plenty of times during the year on the show, talking about him maybe a little undersized, but man, he brings it as much as anybody out there. Hits people hard. And then that opportunistic secondary, Chucky Lewis, Ramon Jackson, Patrick Chueme, all getting first team conference selection. So congratulations to that defensive side of football too.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I think just touching on a few of those guys, we mentioned Kaysen. I think Kaysen was a first-team all-conference guy, and his value was felt so often in the infrastructure of our program too. Leadership, brought tremendous amount of just unification and really just creating culture with our group. It was huge. Ron Blackman had a great year, first year playing, and to be first-team all-conference is huge. And then Josh Lewis, has had a unique journey. He transferred to us from Lindsey Wilson College, won an NAI national title. Came up here, won a conference championship with us, helped us get to the second round of the playoffs, and he's a winner and did some great things. Then defensively, Marshawn had a huge year. Marshawn was a first-team all-league guy. In the spring of 21, has battled injuries, worked his tail off, got back, and had a chance to make a huge impact for us this year. And then all three safeties, with Patrick, Chucky, and Raymond, all had huge years. Raymond was as impactful as anybody in the last few weeks of the season as a blitzer and as a playmaker.
I was going to say, his timing on the blitz seemed to be perfect.
No, he really came on strong, and he's such a good player, and really was a huge asset for us.
Second team on the All-GMAC this year list, Jordan Speller, another Dragon offensive lineman, and also Devin Nelson. So two running backs in the top two. You had four in the top 7 in yards per game. And so another offensive lineman clearing the way, and another running back getting the numbers.
Yeah, without a doubt. No, Jordan had a great year, at right guard. As smart and as instinctive as a football player as you can have, and truly as a coach on the field. And then Dev, battled injury, missed, I think it was 4 games in the middle of the year, and so over 800 yards, missing those games, and had a great season, best football's ahead of him. So we're certainly excited for those guys.
Well, Devin, you had about 1/10 of those yards on one carry over at Finley.
Right.
Big 88-yarder.
No doubt.
Defensive side of the football, Antonio Berry, the defensive end, had an awesome year this year. And then the two linebackers, Barry Brown and Zeke Brown, both getting honorable or second team all-league mentioned.
Antonio came on strong, was one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the league in sacks, and his first year playing meaningful football for us, and did a tremendous job. And then Barry and Zeke, both stepped into big roles, and both kind of battled injuries throughout the season. So for them to be honored, I think is really neat.
Well, Barry had that big hit up at St. Ursuline, or not at St. Ursuline, St. Anselm.
Yeah.
Women's basketball tonight against Ursuline. I've got my heads working too many directions, but he had that big hit that kind of really set the tone for your defense there early on in the season.
No
it was pretty cool.
Yep.
We mentioned Robert Holtz being the GMAC Defensive Lineman of the Year. Just talk about some of his numbers real quick. 42 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 11.5 tackles for loss. Forced a fumble, ranked 4th in the conference in sacks, 9th in tackles for loss, and he led that defensive unit that was tops in the GMAC and finished 2nd in sacks. So pretty impressive stuff by that young man, and he's just got to be a guy that a lot of players look up to, because you can't get from where he started from to where he is without working your tail off.
No, I think he's an embodiment of a bulk of our program. We have a bunch of guys that have worked their tails off, that compete and play really hard, and good stuff has happened and for them, and good stuff's happened for Tiffin. So, cool to see Rob get the honors that we feel like he deserved.
Dragons on the offense side of the football this year were 10 of the 16 offensive categories were in the top 10. So that's pretty amazing stuff right there as well. Defensively, Dragons first in the nation in turnover margin and turnovers gained, 2nd defensive touchdowns, 3rd in fumbles recovered, 4th in pass efficiency defense, 6th in interceptions, 6th in tackles for loss and total offense, 8th in scoring defense, 4th in fourth down conversions allowed, and 4th in passing yards allowed. All amazing numbers by your defense this season. And then officially, offensively, nationally, Tiffin was 4th in offensive first downs, 5th in rushing, and 5th in total offense, 7th in scoring offense. And also, the Dragons had, as we said, the 10 first-team GMAC selections and 5 second-team GMAC selections. And then your center, we mentioned Shane a little while ago, he is up for a national honor, the Upshaw Award. If you're not familiar with the name Gene Upshaw, that's like old-time football royalty right there. He's got awards named after him. But how cool is it for Shane? 2 offensive linemen from each region are chosen by the sports information directors, I believe, and they become the finalists, and then it gets voted on. But Shane, one of 2 guys in this region being recognized. Pretty awesome stuff.
No, it's awesome. He's one of 8 guys in the country, to be up for the top offensive lineman in the country, and pretty amazing, honestly, and not surprising, one that we feel like is warranted and deserved. You don't accomplish the things that we did as a team or as an offense without stability up front, without your best players being up front, and Shane is one of those guys. And when it came to fighting for a guy to get recognition, we'll fight to the end of the earth for Shane.
I bet.
And we feel like he's deserving of it all.
And that center position is not an easy position to play. It's more than just snapping the ball and putting your hands up and blocking somebody. There's a lot that goes on with that center position.
Yeah, no, it's everything. It's leadership, it's grit, it's intelligence, it's football acumen, it's toughness, the ability to be athletic enough to reach a 3 technique on an outside run play, and the ability to be physical enough to defeat a 0 technique at the point of attack on a dive play, and you just have to be incredibly well versed in a lot of different ways of playing the position, and he's done a great job, and just so excited for him to be back with us and take another step.
Well, that's our look at Tiffin University's 2023 football season. And Coach, I'm sure now you get a chance to, as you said, you have your exit meetings with your players. Now it's time for you and the coaches to get together and reflect on the season and get the out recruiting. On the next thing you know, we'll be back here talking about the signing class. It all works around real quick. But let's talk about the real quick before we let you go, about the effort your coaches really put in to help you out this year.
No, they've been unbelievable. Led by all 3 coordinators: Tyler Johns on offense, Dave Price on defense, Steve Gardner in special teams, and those guys have been invaluable. Tyler and Dave. Dave being our associate head coach and Tyler being our assistant head coach, those guys have been invaluable for me, carrying a lot of the load that at times I'm unable to, and so indebted to them, and then our assistants, also Tyus Alcorn, our receivers coach, and DeJuan Rogers, our DBs coach, and Eric Copeland, our corners coach, and Fred Prosel, tight ends, and Darius Penix, running backs, and Ethan Harris at defensive ends as well, and so. Trying to embed at White at quarterback and director of operations. So these guys have been awesome, and you don't do any of this stuff without a great staff and without a group of guys that you believe in, and they believe in the vision and where we're headed. And so really cool and excited I got to share the season with them. Yeah,
well, make sure you give them my best, give them the best from all of us in Dragon Nation. And what a season it was. I'm sad we don't have a game this Saturday, but man, you can reflect and look back on the last 13, 14 weeks, whatever it's been, and really puts a smile on your face. So I thank you for that. I appreciate all the work that you and your kids put in, because the product that they put out there on the field is a whole lot of fun for me to be a part of. So thank you guys so very much. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. No, it's been a great year. Let's do it again next year.
Let's do it again next year. This has been your wrap-up look at the Tiffin University of Dragon football season. You can get more information at gotiffindragons.com. And like we just said, make sure you stick around in the spring. National Signing Day is what? Early February? Something like that?
First Wednesday in February.
First Wednesday in February. We'll be back to talk about the Dragon class of 2024. He's Coach Cris Reisert. I'm Russ Snyder. Thanks for taking a look back at the Tiffin University football season with us here on the Coach Cris Reisert Show.